Hey everyone, and welcome. Are you ready to get into some trucks today?
Always.
Yeah. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the 2025 Nissan Frontier.
All right.
Whether you're thinking about buying one or you just want to know what's new and noteworthy about it, we're going to cover it all.
Sounds good.
We've got expert reviews, specs and features, pricing details. We're going to see how it stacks up against some of its rivals like the Toyota Tacoma, the Chevy Colorado.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough
Yeah.
battle, I think.
Yeah, it's a competitive segment.
For sure.
For sure. So let's start with the engine, heart of the beast.
Okay.
What are we working with here?
Yeah, so the 2025 Nissan Frontier has a 3.8-liter V6 engine. It can produce 310 horsepower, which is actually pretty powerful.
Wow.
It's one of the strongest in its class.
Yeah.
But some reviewers have said that it can be a little noisy, especially when you accelerate hard.
Uh-huh.
And it's not the most fuel-efficient engine either.
Well, yeah, you can't have everything.
So speaking of fuel economy, what are the numbers looking like?
So for the two-wheel drive models, the EPA estimates that it gets about 19 miles per gallon in the city and 24 on the highway.
Okay.
But if you opt for four-wheel drive,
Mm-hmm.
the fuel economy drops a little bit to 17 miles per gallon city and 21 highway.
Gotcha.
And then if you go for the off-roading Pro 4X trim,
Okay.
it gets even a little bit lower. 16 miles per gallon city, 20 on the highway.
Yeah, you got to pay to play rate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And we've got to talk about the transmission because a lot of people who buy trucks are going to be towing things, hauling things, putting it through its paces.
Yeah, it has a 9-speed automatic transmission.
Okay.
But reviewers are saying that sometimes it struggles to find the right gear.
Really?
Yeah, it can be a little hesitant.
Huh. So that might be a drawback for some people.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, especially if, like I said, if they're really going to be working the truck.
If they're using it for towing and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you want something that's going to be smooth and responsive.
Right.
Huh, okay. But on a brighter note, the towing capacity got a pretty significant upgrade this year.
Yeah, so it can tow up to 7,150 pounds.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good amount for a midsize truck. You could tow a good-sized boat or a camper with that.
So that's a plus. Now, what about just the overall driving experience? What are reviewers saying about that?
Some reviewers really like the heavy steering and the stiff frame.
Uh-huh.
They say that it makes the truck feel really responsive, really connected to the road, especially when you're driving on winding roads.
Yeah.
But other reviewers, they find that the steering is a little too heavy.
Yeah, especially if you're doing a lot of city driving or if you have to park in tight spaces, that could be a bit of a pain.
Right.
Okay. So let's move on to the interior. Trucks aren't just about the power and the utility anymore. People are spending a lot of time in them.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the interior like?
Yeah, so one of the highlights of the interior is the Nissan Zero Gravity seats.
Okay.
These seats are really comfortable. They're designed to support your body in a way that reduces fatigue.
Oh, wow.
So even if you're on a long road trip, you're going to be pretty comfortable.
That's a big plus.
Yeah, and they're standard.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
you don't have to pay extra to get a comfortable seat.
Exactly.
That's really good. And what about the rest of the interior? The design, the materials, the layout, all that.
So the interior is pretty simple. It's practical, but they use high-quality materials.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of soft-touch surfaces. Everything is laid out in a way that's easy to use.
Okay.
And it looks pretty nice.
So they're trying to create a more premium feel.
Exactly.
Even though it's a truck.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about space?
So there's plenty of room in the front seats for the driver and the passenger. But the back seats are a little cramped.
Okay.
Especially if you're tall.
Yeah. That's pretty typical for this size truck, though, isn't it?
Right. It is.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the bed, because that's, one of the main reasons people buy a truck.
So the bed comes in two sizes. You can get a 5-foot bed or a 6-foot 1-inch bed.
Okay. So you've got options.
Yeah. You have options depending on what you need to haul.
Yeah.
And they also have...
And they have added some cool features to make the bed more functional.
Yeah, like adjustable tie-down cleats,
Okay.
a power outlet, bed extenders. You can even get a spray-in bed liner to protect the bed.
So they've really thought about how people use their trucks and what they need.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about the price. How much is this going to set me back if I want to get a 2025 Nissan Frontier?
So the base price is $32,050,
Okay.
which is about average for the class.
Right.
Some reviewers say that the lower trim levels offer particularly good value.
Oh, okay.
They recommend maybe the SV Crew Cab with rear-wheel drive.
Right.
That seems to be a sweet spot in terms of features and price.
So that's good to know. Now, what about safety? Has this truck been crash tested yet?
So it hasn't been fully crash tested yet.
Okay.
So we don't have the full safety ratings, but it does come standard with a lot of safety features.
Oh, good.
Like adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, and blind spot monitoring.
Okay, so they're not skimping on safety, even though we don't have the full crash test ratings yet?
Exactly. And they have 2 full sets of LATCH connectors for child safety seats, which is great for families.
Okay, good. And what about predicted reliability? How is this truck going to hold up over time?
Well, it's too early to say for sure.
Right, it's brand new.
It's a brand new model.
Yeah.
We don't have any reliability data yet, but historically, the Nissan Frontier has been a pretty reliable truck.
Yeah.
So hopefully this one will be too.
So fingers crossed. All right, so let's talk about what the critics are saying. What's the overall consensus?
So the reviews are a little mixed.
Okay.
Some reviewers, they love the truck's ruggedness, its capability.
Mhm.
They like that it's kind of a throwback to a simpler time.
Yeah.
But other reviewers, they think that the truck is a little bit too old school.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, all the tech features that some of its rivals have.
Right.
So the overall critics rating is a little bit below average for the class.
Interesting. So it sounds like it's really going to come down to personal preference.
I think so.
What are you looking for in a truck?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so how about we compare it to some of its rivals?
Yeah.
Let's start with the Toyota Tacoma. How does the Frontier stack up against that?
So the Toyota Tacoma is a very popular truck, and it's known for its off-road capability,
Right.
its reliability, and it holds its value really well.
Mm-hmm.
But it tends to be more expensive than the Frontier.
Yeah.
And now they even have a hybrid version of the Tacoma.
Oh, wow.
So if you're looking for fuel economy,
Right.
that might be a good option.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, so what about the Chevy Colorado? How does the Frontier compare to that?
So the Chevy Colorado actually has a lower base price
Okay.
than the Frontier.
Right.
And it comes standard with a crew cab,
Oh, wow.
which means you get more passenger space.
Right.
It also has a really powerful engine. In fact, it has the highest towing capacity in its class.
Oh, wow.
But the interior is not quite as nice
Okay.
as the Frontier's interior, and some reviewers say that the handling is not as good.
Okay.
So again, it depends what your priorities are.
All right, well, let's go through the trim levels of the Frontier.
Okay.
What are we working with here?
So there are 5 trim levels: the S, the SV, the SL, the Pro X, and the Pro 4X.
And just to remind folks, the Pro X and the Pro 4X are more the off-road oriented
Yes.
trims.
You can get it with either a king cab or crew cab, and you can also choose between a short bed and a long bed.
Yeah, so you can really customize it to fit your needs. What about some of the notable features? What are we looking at?
So some of the notable features are a 12.3-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which is available on the higher trim levels.
Okay.
It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Nice.
And for music lovers, there is an available 10-speaker Fender audio system.
Oh, nice. So they've got some pretty good tech in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here in this first part of our deep dive into the 2025 Nissan Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the engine, the fuel economy, the towing capacity, the driving experience, the interior, the bed features, the value, the safety, and we've even compared it to its key rivals. So it's a lot to take in.
It is.
But what does it all mean? Is this truck a good buy? Is it worth your hard-earned money?
Right.
Well, stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we're going to get into all of that and more.
All right.
See you then.
See you then. All right, so we've gone through all the specs and the features, and we've seen how it compares to the competition.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about what it all means for you, the buyer. Is this truck actually worth your money?
Yeah. Is it a good buy?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it seems like they've really focused on the things that truck owners care about the most.
Right.
Like the capability, the comfort, that hands-on driving experience.
Yeah, and the durability.
Exactly.
And you want a truck that's going to last.
Right.
And they didn't go overboard with all the fancy technology and stuff like that.
Yeah, they kept it pretty simple.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah. And that helps to keep the price down, too.
Exactly.
Which is always a plus.
Right.
Especially these days when everything is so expensive.
For sure.
And speaking of capability, we were talking about the towing capacity earlier.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal for a lot of truck owners.
Yeah, so with the towing capacity of over 7,000 pounds, you can pretty much tow whatever you need.
Yeah, you could tow a boat, a camper, a trailer full of equipment.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's really versatile in that way. And then we were also talking about how the Frontier kind of blends that classic truck feel with some modern touches.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's really appealing about it.
Right. You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You get that ruggedness, that durability,
Yeah.
but you also get some of the comforts and convenience
Totally.
of a modern vehicle.
Yeah, so it's not like you're roughing it.
No, you can still enjoy your creature comforts.
Exactly. So let's break down the trim levels a little bit more, because I know we touched on them briefly before,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth diving a little deeper.
Okay, so we have the S, the SV.
Those are kind of your base models, right?
Your work trucks.
Yeah, and they're really good value for the money.
Exactly. You get a lot of truck for your money.
Yeah, you get the essentials,
Right.
you know?
You don't need all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, and then you move up to the SL.
Yeah, the SL is a little bit more luxurious.
Yeah, it's got some more feature, some more comfort.
Leather seats.
Yeah, and then you've got the Pro X and the Pro 4S.
Yeah, those are your off-road trims.
Those are for the adventurers.
Exactly, for people who like to go off the beaten path.
Yeah. And I think the Pro 4X is especially interesting because it's actually one of the more affordable off-road trucks on the market,
Right.
you know?
Get a lot of capability for your money.
Yeah, you get the Bilstein shocks, the all-terrain tires,
Mhm.
skid plates, a locking rear differential.
Yeah, it's ready to go.
Yeah. So if you're into off-roading,
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a trim level to consider.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, overall, it seems like the Frontier is a really solid truck.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
Okay.
it may not be the flashiest or the most tech forward,
Right.
but it gets the job done.
And it does it well.
Yeah. It's reliable, it's capable,
Mm-hmm.
it's comfortable,
It's affordable.
and it has that kind of classic truck feel
Exactly.
that a lot of people are looking for these days.
Right.
So it's kind of like a back to basics approach.
Yeah, it's not trying to be everything to everyone.
Right.
It's just a good, solid truck.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it so appealing,
I think so, too.
you know?
It's not trying to be something. It's not
It's just a truck's truck.
a truck's truck. Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need.
But is it enough to stand out in such a crowded market?
That's a good question.
You know?
There are a lot of great trucks out there.
Yeah.
But I think the Frontier has a few things going for it.
Okay.
First of all, it's got that unique personality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that rugged analog feel.
Yeah, which is becoming increasingly rare these days.
Exactly.
You know, everything is so computerized
Bro.
and tech heavy.
And I think people are starting to miss that
That connection to the machine.
rawness.
Yeah, that feeling of actually driving.
Exactly. And the Frontier
Yes.
delivers that.
Yeah, so I think that's a big part of its appeal.
It's also very capable and affordable.
Yeah, you're not going to break the bank to get into a Frontier. And you know you're getting a truck that's going to last.
Yeah, that's going to get the job done.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely a contender.
I agree.
You know, it may not be for everyone,
Right.
but for the right person, I think it could be the perfect truck.
I think so, too.
So how do you know if it's the right truck for you?
Well, first you have to think about how you're going to use the truck.
Right.
Are you going to be using it for work?
Yeah.
Are you going to be using it for off-roading?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just going to be using it as a daily driver?
Right.
And then you have to think about what features are important to you.
Yeah.
You know, do you need all the latest technology?
Yeah. Are you a techie?
Or are you okay with a more basic truck?
Yeah. Do you value simplicity?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have to think about your budget, you know?
How much can you afford to spend?
So once you've considered all of those factors,
Right.
then you can start to narrow down your choices.
Exactly. And hopefully the Frontier will be at the top of your list.
Yeah. So to sum it all up, if you're looking for a truck that's rugged, capable, comfortable, affordable, and has that classic truck feel,
Yeah,
then the Frontier is definitely worth a closer look.
I think so.
Yeah. But the big question remains, is the Frontier's commitment to a more traditional analog driving experience a good thing?
Right.
Or does it make the truck feel outdated?
That's a good question. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next part of our deep dive.
All right. So stay tuned. All right. So we've been talking about this idea of the 2025 Nissan Frontier being this kind of throwback.
Right.
You know, like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
Well, I think it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
You know, some people, they really miss that old school truck feel,
Yeah.
you know?
That analog experience.
Right, that connection to the machine.
Yeah, where you're not being, you know, coddled by all these computers and sensors and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're actually driving the truck.
Yeah, you're not just along for the ride.
Right.
And there's a certain satisfaction to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, it's like, I always think of it like driving a stick shift
Yeah.
versus driving an automatic.
You're more involved.
You're more involved, you're more engaged.
You have to pay attention.
And there's a certain skill to it.
Right, and a certain reward.
Yeah, exactly.
When you do it well.
But at the same time, you can't deny the benefits of technology.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Technology has made driving safer, more convenient.
Yeah. I mean, think about things like lane keeping, blind spot monitoring.
Adaptive cruise control.
I mean, these features can really make a difference.
Absolutely. They could save lives.
Yeah. And they can definitely reduce stress.
Yeah, especially on long drives.
Yeah, for sure. So it's kind of a tough balance, right?
Yeah, it is. Because you want that raw analog feel, but you also want the safety and convenience of technology.
And I think that's where the Frontier kind of falls short for some people.
Yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that some of its rivals have.
Right. It's a little bit more basic in terms of its technology.
Right.
So if you're someone who really values those tech features, then the Frontier might not be the truck for you.
But if you're okay with a more simplified approach, if you prioritize that analog driving experience,
that connection to the machine,
then the Frontier could be a really good fit.
Yeah, it's all about what you're looking for.
Right. What are your priorities?
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 2025 Nissan Frontier, we want to leave you with this thought.
Right.
Don't be afraid to embrace simplicity.
Right.
Sometimes less is more.
I agree.
And in a world that's increasingly complex and overwhelming, there's something to be said for a vehicle that just gets the job done.
Yeah, that's reliable.
Without all the fuss and fanfare.
That's easy to use.
Yeah, that's just a good, solid truck.
A truck's truck.
A truck's truck, exactly. So if you're looking for a truck that's built for work and play, that's comfortable and capable.
Yeah.
And that won't break the bank.
And that reminds you why you love driving.
Exactly. Then the 2025 Nissan Frontier is definitely worth checking out.
I think so.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
And we hope it helped you learn a little bit more about the Frontier.
And it maybe even inspired you to take one for a test drive.
That's right. Go check it out for yourself.
All right. Well, that's it for today.
That's all we got.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
See ya.